I'm going to call this meeting to order. And tonight we have the presentation of colors and a Pledge of Allegiance by Robertson High School. And these cadets are instructed by Colonel Thomas Bell of the Air Force, retired. Let's rise.
Go, halt, left, face, breathe in, colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, colors. Right, face, forward, arch.
I ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's time for the superintendent's comments.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start out with some, I think, extremely good news that we're very proud of. A couple of weeks ago, under the leadership of Ms. Christy Cheek, our CTE director, we had over 1,100 middle schoolers in Buncombe County schools. I think we actually had a few high school students as well, Ms. Swanger. And they participated once again in a very successful Students at Work Week. And that gives these students an opportunity to visit a number of our local workplaces, many representing future STEM-related careers, advanced manufacturing, medical health services, IT, county government, and hospitality tourism were areas that they had an opportunity to visit. At Mission Hospital, in fact, we were very honored to have Governor Cooper arrive, and I understand, Ms. Churchill, that you were actually there, and he had a wonderful experience working with some lungs. Is that correct?
Yes, it was actually very nice. I was able to put two of my passions together, and that was showcasing our healthcare options here in the area and what our students are doing. So it was pretty awesome to be able to do that, but what was even better was watching he and State Representative Turner handle pig lungs. And he was actually very impressed from my understanding. I didn't quite get the answer, though, as to whether he preferred East or Western style of barbecue, but but it was great. I really appreciated it, and I will say too that the people at Mission kept coming up to me talking about how wonderful our students were. They couldn't believe they were middle schoolers, so they were very impressed.
Well, it's quite an honor to have those representatives there. And I had an opportunity to go to Doubletree and actually sat and participated in some of those sessions. And that staff at Doubletree, just like the staff at all of these locations, Jim Anthony is here. I think we've had students there at your work site as well. Just could not ask for any more hospitality than they showed our kids. And what a great thing to do at that middle school age as they start preparing in terms of what do I want to be. So again, I want to thank Christy Cheek for that monumental effort, 1,100 students. I want to congratulate the 3-student team from Irwin High School. They outcooked 7 other teams across the state, and they claimed victory in the first ever North Carolina Junior Chef Competition, and that was held at Guilford Tech Community College in Greensboro. And they now will be representing the state of North Carolina at the Southeast Regional, so they will be headed, along with Mrs. Cheek, to Louisville, Kentucky. And this certainly does support. We've talked a lot about our new ProStart labs that we have placed in all of our high schools, and what a great testament to how important and what a great opportunity, especially here in our area, for hospitality and tourism. So congratulations to that group. We're going to bring them back, and once they bring the national championship trophy home, we'll parade them in front of everyone.
But will they cook for us? That's the question.
Well, we certainly can ask. That might be a hefty bill. We might have to really check our budget. Earlier today, student leadership teams from each of our high schools participated in a local youth opioid summit that was held at Western Carolina University's branch at Biltmore Park in that facility. And both David Thompson and Debbie Bryant were instrumental in coordinating that activity. They were key facilitators. And I can tell you, Mr. Huff and I had an opportunity to at least be there for a while to listen to these students. That was powerful. They not only gave some, and again, these are our high school students. They're always very open and honest. And you would have been proud, any of our educators in Buncombe County schools and stakeholders in Buncombe County schools, what a tremendous role model that they demonstrated in that particular summit, and what a crisis in our community. And we left thinking, this is the model, because it's not only opioids that challenge us in this community. There's so many other areas, and to be able to bring some of our student leaders and put them in a room and ask for their opinion, that should not be a novel idea. And so I'm hoping that we repeat that in other summits. But again, very proud of those particular students. A reminder that our Top Scholars Banquet is just around the corner. The event will take place on Wednesday, April 25th. It'll be at the Downtown Renaissance Hotel, and that will begin at 6 o'clock. And this is always such a positive and fun event, so we're looking forward to that. And I know Ms. Harris is putting a lot of work and effort into making that first class once again. Safety in schools consistently remains one of the highest priorities in our district, if not the highest priority. And next Tuesday on the 17th, we're going to have a half-day Safe Schools Symposium. That's going to be held at Ridgecrest in Black Mountain, with registration starting at 7:30 a.m. I want to thank Mr. Huff for organizing this event. In fact, he is at Leadership Asheville tonight doing a presentation on our behalf on safe schools. He's done a wonderful job of organizing this. We anticipate a large number of educators and public from all over Western North Carolina, very relevant keynote speakers and breakout sessions, and so the public is certainly welcome to and encouraged to attend that particular event. And speaking of safe schools, our afternoon capital outlay and facility needs work session, that's going to take place on May 2nd, which is scheduled for our next board day, and that's going to really center on the priority of enhancing safety in not only our buildings, but on all of our campuses. And I believe, Board, that you will see a significant effort that has been made by this Capital Outlay Committee to present ideas and options for us to enhance the safety across this school district. My final item has to do with the school calendar. I don't yet know if spring has actually sprung, but one thing for sure I can tell you is we have really experienced an awfully long winter. And with that said, the cancellation on March 14th represented the 9th day of school day loss for inclement weather this year. And our current makeup plans that are in effect include the 20 additional minutes that are currently have been added to all of our days in April, the conversion of May 30th, which is Memorial Day, and that has been moved from an optional teacher work day to a student attendance day. That does also include an early release. Need to remind the public of that. And then that extension into the end of the calendar that was approved by the board to include June 13th. It's my recommendation that we have no further makeup efforts to be made for this school year. I'm ready to wave the white flag. The current plan that we have, though, in place well exceeds the 1,025 hours of instructional time that's required by the state. And I would also note that the plan that we have in place is aligned with our survey results. We are extremely pleased with the response from the public when we sent that survey out. And that did provide priorities from the survey for March the 30th and May 30th to be converted, as well as adding the 20 additional minutes to a school month. So those were all given priority as requested in the survey. And all schools regarding those 20 minutes have reported their strategies to Mrs. Swanger in our curriculum department. And so they are accountable to best utilize any of that additional time from an instructional standpoint. And we've met with all of our principals over the past couple of days, and they seem to be pleased with how those 20 minutes have fit into their schedule regarding instruction. I also want to remind the board that due to the number of days lost this year, we have now qualified for waivers. And those waivers, because the way this legislation is set up, are relative to the start and end dates of our calendars for both 2018, 2019, which is next year, and 2019, 2020. Legislation allows LEAs, or school systems like Buncombe County, to submit these waivers to the State Board of Education when over the most recent 10-year period, 4 or more years in that 10-year period, those years we have suffered at least 8 or more days that have been lost to inclement weather. So with that particular 8th day lost this year, that put us qualifying for the waiver for the next 2 years. So at this time, what I'd like to do is ask Mrs. Lopez, who serves as our co-chair on the calendar committee, to come down. I think it would behoove all of us to get a little bit more information about what that waiver represents, what's required, and she's also going to talk to the board in terms of a historical perspective over some previous years and what our waivers and what our state start dates have looked like. And then, Madam Chair, I think we're going to turn it over for discussion with the board regarding these waivers.
Good evening. I have a little bit of a cold, post-spring break cold, so please forgive me. I'm passing down a handout, two-sided, and the first side I want to turn your attention to is it says number of days for LEA school closings. This is a 10-year history of school closings, and you have to put your reading glasses on, or if you're like me, take your distance glasses off to see Buncombe County there. But this is what the state handed out to us at the beginning of the year when we started the calendar process. And so as you can see, we did not qualify for a waiver for 18-19 back when we started the calendar back in September of this school year because we had only missed 8 days or more in 3 of the last 10 years. But the way that the regulations read, you also have the option of not just looking at the past 10 years, excluding your current year. You have the option of including your current year in your 10-year period. So if we include now that we have missed our 8th day in 17-18, if you include that, then we do meet the requirement of missing 8 or more days in 4 of the past 10 years. The regulations provide that we have to submit our waiver request prior to April 1. So shortly after we missed that 9th day, we submitted a waiver to the state on March 13th, I believe. It was returned to us by the state because we did not list the date. And they said, the folks at DPI who handled this with the state board said that we had to actually specify what earlier date we wanted to start school. And so that, would be a question for the board. There is a timing issue, and that is the regulation states it has to be submitted before April 1. We did submit before April 1, and I did contact someone at DPI today and said, what happens if we actually resubmit now with the date? Of course, it won't go to the state board until the earliest would be May. And so this staff member who handles this felt like that the state board would consider it, but no guarantee of that. The earliest we would have a decision about this, however, would be the end of the first week of May, which follows the state board's next meeting. So that is one option for requesting a waiver. I'm going to skip ahead while you ponder that to the next 2 years. So the way that the regulation reads, so next fall when Ms. Wanger and I convene our calendar committee, we will be eligible for a waiver for 1920 and for 2021 because we will qualify for 2 years in a row. We will qualify because you exclude 1819 from the calculation when we start the calendar for 1920. Hard to believe we're talking about a calendar for 1920, but that's what we would be doing. That's what we'll be doing in the fall. So have I thoroughly confused you?
Are there questions from board members concerning this learned person and the information that she has shared with us?
We need to make a decision about this tonight, or are you just informing us if we actually?
That's a discussion, I think, is what
Right.
Dr. Moore and the chair had indicated.
Okay.
I guess what I'm doing is letting you know that if it is something that the board wants to consider, that time is of the essence.
So that would be for this coming school year, whether.
For 1819, for the calendar, and as you know, you approved that calendar back in November, and the start date we have is August the
20-something.
August 27th. Because without the waiver, here it is, without the waiver, the Monday closest to August 26th is your start date. With the waiver, your start date is the Monday closest to August 19th. So the earliest we could start school next year would be the 20th. And of course, an issue is that we published this calendar many months ago.
I have a question. I'm just sitting here trying to think of how to word it, but and you brought up the point that, we've already had this calendar out, and I'm sure there's families that have already made plans because of it. If we don't submit for the waiver for, make sure I'm getting this right, is it 1819?
For 1819.
Can we still use the 4 and do it for 1920?
Yes.
Okay. And then would that also include?
2021.
2021, yes.
Okay. So we basically, just to really keep it simple here, we have the option of we could have a waiver for 3 years if we did it for this year, or 2 years if we held off.
Yes.
Okay.
And the waiver only affects the beginning of the school year, not the end of the school year?
No, it also affects the end of the year. The last day is the bookends, and so the last day is the Friday closest to June 11th, which for next year, interestingly, is not an issue for us. If you have the 1819 calendar, I don't know if you had that as a handout, but the Friday closest to June 11th for this next school year actually is June 14th. And our calendar committee has our last day as June the 7th. So we actually have a whole week there. The end of the year for next year is not going to be a problem because of the way the days are falling. Yeah. And on the flip side of the document that I handed out, this is just historical perspective on our start of school. You can see for the last 2 years, we have started school later because we did not qualify for a waiver, and then you can see the start dates prior to that, all the way back to 1931, just in case you were interested.
And that looks to me like, two questions. 2009-10, where it notes early college, is that when that, why is that?
I think that was just because that was the first year that we had exercised the option for an earlier start day for early college. So that, yeah.
And so then 2009-10, prior to the last 2 years, it looks like the 2009-10 year was the last year we started later. Is that accurate?
Right, that's correct. In 9-10, we started on the 25th. And as I recall, and Ms. Swanger and Dr. Baldwin will have to help me there, I think we also lost our waiver 1 year, many years ago, under the law that went into effect in 2005. You know, prior to 2005, we were able to start school whenever. And then you'll see with the 2005-06 school year, we started later. We did qualify for a waiver, but we lost, under the law as it existed then, we lost that waiver for a year.
So how does the, let me get the right calendar. So the 18-19 calendar that we've passed now starts on the 27th. If we started on the 20th, I guess the questions I'm looking for are educationally related. So I don't know whether it's Ms. Swanger, Dr. Baldwin, or whomever. And maybe I'm at fault for not having paid attention enough to this over the however long I've been on the board, but I know we have lamented, fretted, sighed real heavily. We've done a lot of things as educational folks when we've talked about, oh, we're going to lose a waiver. Oh, we're going to lose the waiver. And then when we did lose the waiver, I heard a lot about it. And I've talked to some folks now who say, even though the timing's bad, we got it back. It makes sense educationally to use it. So my question is, how does the change in date, how would it tie in with early college and the non-traditional settings? Does it help us or hurt us there, or does it make any difference at all?
No difference there. And the early college calendar, which has already been approved, they actually do start school on the 13th of August.
We do that in conjunction with AB Tech.
Right.
Is to match the scheduled AB Tech, but they are exempt from all of this.
Right.
Right, okay.
Here's my problem. And my initial reaction is, I think as a board we ought to approve the ask for the waiver and try to get to start earlier. I look at this year's calendar and what the snow days did to us, and I see very little. You know, April, May, and June, there's not much there for teachers planning. There's not work days. We've had to absorb all those in things that parents wanted to do in our surveys and those types of things. So for me, I want to make a decision that's best and the most sound educationally for our kids, for our faculty and staff. I think, and I might get wrong, may get a lot of emails, but I think folks will adjust if we changed based on the vacation. I would have, because my kids being in school would have been more important. I think our system has proven that, because we adjusted pretty quickly to go 20 extra minutes for the full month of April in a 3-week period of time, give or take, when we made that decision and started announcing it to folks. So just for me, educationally, I'm not sure I know which way I want to go, but educationally, is one better than the other? Because we sure have, my feeling is we have portrayed that amongst ourselves at the very least, if not to folks in the public, that having that waiver is a good thing for our schools and our start dates and finishing and PLCs and teacher work days and all the different things that go into the complication of putting these calendars together. So I don't know who I'm asking.
I'm going to refer over to Ms. Swanger, but I will say this. I think it's an example of best laid plans. And I've been at this a long time, and the frustrating thing is that whatever calendar we determine is at the mercy of Mother Nature. And what happened to us this particular year was the late winter impact on us. I mean, we were fortunate it didn't exceed beyond the 9th day, but that's what makes, when you're talking about instructional education, the instructional time, there's no clear defined, this is the way it's going to be. Again, it's all subject to when that particular inclement weather impacts us. Ms. Swanger?
I think when I look at the calendar and I think, will a week make one difference for the outcomes for students? And I don't think so, primarily where first semester ends, and I think that's key. With our calendars, there's no way that we can have exams before Christmas. It's just not possible.
Under the stipulations that we have.
Under the calendar law that we're
Right.
facing, either with a waiver or without. So that seems to be the message that we often hear. Why can't we finish first semester before Christmas? When you think about when you return from Christmas vacation, from winter break, how much time do we have to acclimate back into the school, finish our content, finish first semester strong, and then do testing and transition to second semester? Sometimes when we have started school earlier, we had fewer days when we returned from winter break, and that made it further complicated. If you just extend our calendar 1 week, I don't see a big issue one way or the other.
Well,
I think about what we hear from the calendar committee, and you've been in there. The biggest issue that we often hear about the start of school, it's a challenge to start on a Monday, especially when we start with half of our kindergarten one day, half the next day, and then all the third day. 5 days is, and it sounds sort of silly, but 5 days starting out on Monday through Friday is a challenge for all children coming back into the classroom and getting back on schedule. I think if you ask the calendar committee, they would always prefer to start on Wednesday. But again, we've had those discussions over time.
Well, then my question would be, well, 2 questions. We have a litany of years here where we've started early. How many of those have been on Mondays? And maybe starting early, Monday I'm looking at the wrong calendar, Monday the 20th isn't the best option. Because the committee just brings that calendar to us, and the committee, it seems to me, has been pretty consistent when they've had the opportunity to bring us the early start. And I don't sit in every year, but it seems like I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, because my mind's getting bad. I just had another birthday yesterday, and I'm old. But it seems like it's been that was looking at all the things, and you can't get it all right and make everybody happy, but that the committee, and I know it changes, but you've got students, teachers, principals, assistant principals, central office, parents on there, starting earlier has been, I don't ever remember you coming to us and starting later when we had the option to start early.
Correct.
So,
And that's where my confusion is, or not my confusion, but where I'm struggling with what's the best way to go with this.
so where we've got it right now for 18-19, it does start on a Monday, right? And so is it either we go back a full week to the 20th or we leave it on the 27th? Or is it also, would it be possible to go back just a few days to the 22nd and then we're starting on a Wednesday?
That's my question, too.
It would certainly be the pleasure of the board to direct us on when you would like to see that first day. We'll make whatever happen, absolutely. Again, we have to take into consideration, can we ensure ourselves that having school earlier when we've advertised one calendar, will that impact families or staff?
Well, and the other thing, it's pie in the sky by and by, to me, because we as a board could make that recommendation for 18-19, submit it to the state board people at DPI, and they say not this year.
Correct. The timing is worrisome, and I think that's what Ms. Lopez was.
And it does muddy the water.
I do think it's advantageous to ask for the waiver for 1920, absolutely. And I think giving staff and families enough advance notice that school will be starting a bit earlier makes sense.
I would agree with that.
If we were going to make some changes, like take the example of starting on the 22nd, which is a Wednesday, the 2 extra days that we're gaining, would they, if we didn't wind up using them for snow days, or would they be built in more for PLC days to offer more opportunities for the staff to have their continuing education? I'm probably using the wrong term, but because that's one thing I do hear is that it seems like there's never enough time for them to get together to, learn whatever the latest and greatest is that, we're asking them to look at.
I think we would bring staff in. The calendar committee put 4 days in, 2 of those being designated and 2 being optional. We would just back up those 4 days, and staff would report to school 4 days earlier.
But we're talking, we would just be, but,
Staff would come back
2
the
days.
16th
okay,
versus the 21st.
okay, gotcha, okay.
And if you recall, we had a 185-day calendar at one point in time.
Did.
And that was when the state was fully going to pay for the 185 days.
Didn't last
And then that funding was pulled, and so the vast majority of school systems across the state went back to 180. It became a budgetary issue.
We remained at 182 for a couple of years, but the budget was of concern.
And these end dates and start dates are student end and start dates, the history here, is that correct?
Yes.
Not teacher early and.
Teacher days,
Okay.
yes.
Our attorneys also reminded me that we have implemented in Buncombe County counting hours. And so while the calendar at some of these dates that you've given me pressed us to have the number of days so we could keep spring break, since now we're counting hours as well as days, I believe.
Correct.
Then our spring break is not as vulnerable as it was to begin with. And while you might make fun of me saying that, after you've taught all winter and dealt with snow days and all of that, to get a break is as meaningful for the faculty and staff as it is for the students.
When we were following the calendar law that said 180 days and 1,025 hours, that was
Language.
problematic. That's when those bookends of the start date and the stop date really hampered our planning. But right now, we are in well exceeding 1,025 hours. And we've been very cautious in looking at our instructional time, and from August all the way projected through June 13th, our last day of this year.
Do we need to take action?
But we've, Dr. Baldwin, we missed 9 days, right?
Correct.
9. Day number 8 is the 20 hours, or day number 9? And day number 9, we're not making up, and because we've exceeded the hour count.
Number 8 is when we.
Day number 8 is not 20 hours, the 20 minutes. The 20
Right.
minutes in
When
April
we
is what I
estimate-
meant.
And we're forgiving.
And day number 9, we're forgiving because we're exceeding the 1,025.
correct.
Correct.
Okay. May I ask a question of Dr. Baldwin and/or Ms. Swanger?
Certainly.
You don't want to answer it, you just tell me and I'll be quiet. Seriously, because I don't want to add any more work to anybody. I don't want to make this hard. I don't want to do that. What's your recommendation? And as soon as you give it, I'm getting ready to make a motion that that's what we do, because I trust you both, and I know what you're looking at, and you're looking at what's best for our kids in our school.
My recommendation is that we hold for 2018-19, and I base that on, I don't see, as to Mrs. Swanger's point, I don't see the advantage from the instructional hours. We're still at the mercy, again, of what the winter weather holds for us. What does concern me is with the calendar being approved in November, and that I know not only parents, but we have staff members that go ahead and schedule fairly early what that summer break is going to look like. And as a former principal, historically, I know that with high school staff, a lot of those vacations happen the week prior to when we're scheduled for that staff development to begin. So that concerns me. That doesn't drive the train, of course, because you're right to take it back to is there instructional effectiveness in adjusting that calendar. We have fought hard in the mountains for that flexibility, but having been in this chair for quite a while, I will tell you that the voice was loud and clear that the fight was to allow that semester break to occur prior to Christmas so that it was a natural break and it fit the community college schedule. And we tend to face greater challenges than, although, again, the climate's changing, weather's changing out there. So, I'm still hopeful that flexibility lies ahead for school systems.
Madam Chair, if it would be appropriate, I would move that we adjust and take a vote on this from what our stated agenda is. And my motion would be that we keep the calendar that we've already voted on and approved for the 2018-19 school year and request the waiver for the 2019-20 school year and get that approved so that we have that in our pocket when the planning committee gets together and does their work in the fall.
So that would be a motion to amend the agenda to add that as a vote. So that would need a second if we wanted to amend the agenda and vote on that idea. So see if there's a second first.
I'll second that.
You're going to second to amend the agenda?
That's correct.
And then
Okay.
any discussion on amending the agenda?
Any discussion from the board?
On amending the agenda?
All right, then I have a motion. Do I have a second?
You do.
I do. You are this. Thank you. All those in favor?
But before we vote, we're voting just simply to
Just to
amend.
amend the
Amend the
agenda,
agenda.
and
And the
then your
agenda.
primary motion will be on the table, correct?
Gotcha.
Okay. All those approved to amend the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now your motion, Mr. Bryant, is would you restate it,
I'll
please?
try. To keep the calendar that was adopted in either November or December for the 18-19 school year.
Sure.
A, and B, to go ahead and submit the request to the State Board of Education for the waiver for the 19-20 school year so that our school calendar committee can have that in their pocket when they're planning this coming fall for the following school year.
Okay, you heard his motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. I got the easy part.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, God, can we not?
I actually I'll just make one quick comment because it's not been mentioned here. Quick. And I just want to say this so that I can get on record, is I think the key here is calendar flexibility, and I would urge everyone, that would be our staff, students, family, community members, to really share their concerns with our state legislature about just how important it is that we have local control of our calendar and the advantages to doing so. And the more that we can get our voice heard, I think the better off we're going to be in the long run. So that's it.
No, that was short and sweet. Okay, anybody else want to make a comment?
Here, here.
Here, here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We
Thank
will
you,
take
Ms.
that to the
Walker.
calendar committee.
And Ms. Lopez. Moving right along, Dr. Baldwin, anybody else that was involved in that big discussion there? Okay, it's now time for good news. And I believe Ms. Harris is in charge.
Good evening, everyone. Just working on some last-minute details. Good evening, Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, members of the board. This evening, we have several pieces of good news to talk about. First up, we'd like Barry Pace, our Director of Technology, to come on down. He's going to talk more about an important community partnership that's allowing our students who need it the most to have access to the internet at home.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dr. Baldwin, thank you for this opportunity. As you know, at the end of last school year, we applied for a grant with the Sprint company called the 1 Million Project to provide homework hotspots, mobile hotspots for our high school students. And we were approved for that grant. At that time, we piloted, or basically had the idea that we should pilot some additional options around that. We didn't know if The coverage would be available for all of our high school students. And in fact, we have 10 of the 373 high school students that currently have homework hotspots in Buncombe County schools who are unable to get Sprint coverage. But we have made plans and met that need by piloting at middle school and lower hotspots, working with our partners, U.S. Cellular and T-Mobile, who worked with us on discounted pricing, significantly discounted pricing. And it really opened the door for us to have conversations about being able to expand that program to all of our Buncombe County School students below high school who are in one-to-one situations, taking their device home. And so I definitely want to recognize our U.S. Cellular partners and our T-Mobile partners in that. But more so tonight, we're here to celebrate a local partnership. As we began trying to figure out how we were going to address this need, we started talking to Bill Murdoch at Evelyn Charities, and it kind of grew from there. So why don't, at this time, I'll just turn the mic over to Bill and let him tell you about the partnership that we're launching. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Baldwin, members of the school board, and all of the administrators and faculty and staff and parents, students, thank you all so much for inviting Jim and I here tonight for this great announcement. Evelyn Charities certainly has no greater partner in our service to the community than Buncombe County Schools. And whether it's our graduation initiative, whether it's teacher housing, whether it's food for thought, Headlock on Hunger, our Operation Prom Dress, or the many other programs that we have that services the students, the faculty, the staff, and so many other people in our community. There's nobody that we're more proud to stand beside and that we reach out so much together than Buncombe County Schools. But the irony of some of these programs isn't lost on me. In fact, two of the programs that we have actually reminds me quite a bit about, Tony, those days long ago at T.C. Robertson, because there's two programs that I didn't really involve myself much in while I was in high school, and now that Evelyn Charities has a very great and large part in our community in doing. And one is our Operation Prom Dress. And in the past 9 years, we've given out at no charge more than 1,000 prom dresses to students who may not be able to afford them and then thus not being able to go to the prom. And where the irony comes in was I've never went to a prom. Mr. Coons, and Tony can remember this, Mr. Coons actually barred me for 2 years, my junior and senior year, from the prom. And now we give out thousands of dresses.
Are you a bad boy, Mr. Murdoch?
Let's just say I was guilty but not responsible.
Okay.
And the other one, which brings us here tonight, which brings Jim and I here tonight, the other program, I actually didn't do a lot of homework while I was in high school. And in fact, my senior year, we got new books, and when I turned them in at the end of the year to Miss Liberate, and she opened them, they all kind of cracked. And she said, "These don't look like they've been opened." And I said, "Well, there's a reason for that." And I'm certainly not boasting about that. That's the reason took me 2 years to go back to college. That was the reason why I had 18 months at Pizza Hut as a cook and a waiter before I went on to school. But again, that's what brings us here tonight, and that's what we're very honored to be talking about, and to be joining Buncombe County Schools again in a new endeavor, and again working with our longtime friend and supporter Jim Oliver and the company that he founded, AVL Technologies, which I know is a longtime friend of Buncombe County Schools as well, as we launch or have launched the All Set program. And I think All Set is just a great name because, first of all stands for all students to be able to do this, and SET is Student Educational Technology. So the program, Tony, as Dr. Baldwin says, will help reduce the homework gap for all students here in Buncombe County. When Barry first talked to me about this, the first person I thought of course, was Jim, but there was only 30 students, and now we have 134 students, right? And looking about 150 probably by the end of the school year, I think, by your projections. But the All Set program will provide internet access to students in the lower level grades, so they can be on the same educational level as their friends and their classmates and their peers if they don't have internet access at home. So the homework hotspots, I think, is such a great innovation. And that's why I really want to thank Dr. Baldwin, school board, and all you administrators and staff just for the innovation that you have and the commitment and the courage you have for all these programs, whether it's teacher housing, whether it's graduation initiative, whether it's the All Set program. It's amazing. I think I read a quote not too long ago that Pericles said to the Athenians that we do not imitate. Said, we set the bar. We're the ones who lead. We do not imitate. We're the model for others. And I think I've seen that throughout Buncombe County Schools and great innovation, that Buncombe County Schools doesn't seem to follow anyone. They seem to be the ones who set the bar and do the innovation. And it's always an honor to work with folks that have such lives of dedicated, selfless service. And none of this could happen without our partnerships, whether it's Ingalls, whether it's Arby's, or especially AVL Technologies and Jim Oliver. And Jim's been a great friend and a great partner, not only to Evelyn Charities, but to the school districts, to AB Tech, to the entire community. And as he branches out across the states in different things in education. So it's a great honor to expand our programs with Jim. We've been talking for, years of what can we do together? What is there that AVL and Evelyn can do together? And Barry, thanks to you and Dr. Baldwin, we were able to figure that out. So with that, I would like to introduce a great friend of mine and all of us. And the reason all this is able to happen is Jim Oliver.
Bill and the board. Yeah, anytime you mention the word tech, it sort of gets me going. I went to Georgia Tech. I love technology, so I was talking to Bill, and he said, Jim, I have been involved in supporting his school supply program, the toys at Christmas, some of his educational programs for the workforce. And so when he came to me and said, Jim, I want to do a project, and I said, well, that AVL is supporting. I said, fine, I'm interested. So he came back, and as soon as he said technology, I knew I was hooked. So it's a pleasure to be a part of it. Under the AVL technology umbrella, there's a company I own called Streamview Ed, which is all about getting educational video in between the classroom, both live and on demand, out to the students for their use in the homework. There's a term called the flipped classroom, where there's going to be stuff going on at home that used to go on in the classroom. So you have to have connectivity to all your students. Also, it's going to give them the opportunity as you go forward. Eventually, a teacher will be able to broadcast her class if there's a student out with a chronic illness, allow them to stay caught up so they don't have to repeat the year. So again, anything that has technology, I love it. So I'm glad to be a part. I love the Buncombe County. I love this area. I named my company after it, so I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just so thankful to you, Jim, and Bill, and just thankful to have an opportunity for Buncombe County Schools to be in such a unique position, and especially for being able to really truly create a level playing field for our students, all of our students. And at this time, I want to invite Rachel Brillisauer from North Windy Ridge Intermediate School just to talk a little bit about what these homework hotspots have meant for her students.
Good evening, Dr. Baldwin, members of the board. So yesterday at my school in Weaverville, the power went out, and it stayed out. And during this time, I needed to cover a technology class. And I'd planned to introduce a brand new web tool for them to use, but the closer it got to time for that class to occur, realized it was time to come up with a plan B. After this happened, I realized this is what our students experience. They're able to take their computers home, but if they don't have internet access, there's only so much they can do with it. They can access those programs on it, but all those other ones we provide through internet access are not available. So the availability of these hotspots has changed things at North Windy Ridge. We can now offer this option to our students who internet access is a struggle for them. For example, one day last year, I had a student and teacher come to me, and they actually met me in the hallway to ask, how could this student access the internet? He wanted to do his homework. And he was practically in tears during this conversation. He wanted it that much. And so at that time, I didn't have a lot of options for him, but I could tell him, I'm going to remember this, and hopefully we'd come up with a solution. And this year, he was one of the first to get these hotspots. I've also heard about a family in our school who they would go to their church at night and sit in the parking lot to access Wi-Fi. We also had the opportunity, we had a student whose brother was in high school and he was able to attach to that hotspot. Well, there were 3 brothers in the house at the intermediate, middle school, and high school level, and their internet was very slow because all 3 were trying to use it at the same time. So we were able to get a second hotspot in that home to extend their usage. The school counselors and I work very closely with these students, and we found when we send the homework hotspot consent form home, it comes back immediately. And the kids are so excited and thrilled they want this. They even tell each other. I had a little girl from 5th grade come up to me, and she heard about these hotspots, and she wanted to know how she could get one. So our teachers, they're great about working with kids, giving them opportunities during the day to do the work they need to do online. But it's just not the same. So with these hotspots provided through the partnership with Buncombe County Schools, AVL Technologies, and Eblin Charities, more of our students can be successful at school. Thank you.
So just to finish, if there's a family that feels they would be eligible for this, they should just see their school counselor, and they'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim and Bill, if you'll come back up, we have some plaques for you here.
We'll put you in the center, Bill. Right up there in the center, like Mr. Kuntz used to do today.
X marks the spot.
You're looking good, Murdoch.
They want sparkles in it. The AM in the middle.
Actually, Mr. Pace, if you could remain in the middle of the floor, that'd be great. Hi, everyone. Is this better? All right, Mr. Pace, all eyes on you. We're going to continue our recognition of our Director of Technology and his dedication to making sure our students have access to the best technology possible. If Dr. Melanie Honeycutt could come forward. She is the NC Ties President and Chief Information Officer of Burke County Schools, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about the Making It Happen Award.
Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, Board, I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for setting the bar so high, Barry. I just really appreciate that. I think that Barry does a wonderful job, and I'm so excited to be able to share some of the things that he has done for us as far as the district. And I'm going to do a little bit off of the cuff. He had a large presentation at NC Ties, and we wanted to also share it here with his community because he has done a lot for a lot of us. Barry and I have worked together probably 20 years, pretty close. When he started as director of McDowell County, I worked for DPI. We worked in the same capacity at DPI. He was E-rate director and coordinator for the Department of Public Instruction. For those of you that don't have education acronyms, that's the Department of Public Education. And Barry is the reason. Now, he can say it was a big team effort, and it was, but Barry's the reason we have connectivity for 115 LEAs. We have connectivity through MCNC, and it was him. He had a great team, but he led the charge. He put in many, many hours for us to be able to have this connectivity and for us to continue this, not just with us as directors, but also with legislators and constantly being an advocate for the students of North Carolina. So now he's the advocate for Buncombe County Schools. I know you couldn't be more prouder. When I'm sitting here listening, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get back to Burke County. We got to have some hot spots, and I need a camera set up like this, and I'm just going to have to go back and beg for more money. Maybe Dr. Baldwin, you can help me out there.
Got a great loan program.
For this county, and I know that you feel fortunate to have him a part. So I am going to share with him his jacket and his plaques, but I'm also going to share with him a special guest. We have Susan Larson, who is ISTE's, she is our affiliate director for ISTE, which is our parent for NC Ties. So we're so glad that she can join us. So Susan, if you want to share a few words. Sound? Hang on, we don't have sound. Hang on.
Barry.
Where she can see me.
I have you on speakerphone. We can see you, and we're going to be able to hear you. Stand by 1 second.
Can you hear me yet?
I can hear you.
Oh, see, this is the exact epitome of making it happen because I'm going to turn myself down so I'm not echoing. We find a way under, through, around, no matter what. Technology is often our friend and sometimes not our friend. We're just going to make it happen. So I'm just so honored to be here via video, via phone, whatever it takes to be part of this presentation. Barry, you happen to be somewhere else when I was at NC Ties a month or so ago when this award was first presented to you. I think maybe you were taking your family to Disneyland, Disney World, which might be the only reason you should ever miss an award presentation or an NC Ties conference. So I'm just really honored to be here and be part of this for you. I wanted to just give everybody a brief understanding, really, of what this award is and why it's so special. We've already heard some of the great things Barry has done as to why he's so deserving. But the Making It Happen Award is given out by ISTE, which, for those of you who might not know, actually, ISTE is the International Society for Technology and Education. NC Ties is one of our affiliates. I'm the affiliate director, so we have 70 affiliates that we work with around not just the U.S., but around the world. And ISTE and our affiliates give out this award. And what we're looking for are people exactly like Barry, who go over, above, through, around. They are visionary people. They don't stop until that vision succeeds. They have an amazing team that they draw along the way and help make these things happen. So just also so you know, since this award started about 20-ish years ago, more than 600 educators and leaders have been awarded with this honor. And they're people from all spectrums of education, classroom teachers, principals, leaders, people in nonprofit, people in government or industry. It doesn't really matter. They don't fit a particular category, which I think is one of the reasons why the award is so amazing. So Barry, you are part of a phenomenal group of people around the world for the last several decades who keep that vision alive and really improve everything you can do to improve education and the impact on students' lives. So congratulations, Barry.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
I will say I did miss being at NC Ties. I had attended 15 consecutive NC Ties conferences, which it's like family.
Yes.
And I missed it, but I had an opportunity to take my family and my beautiful wife, who's sitting over here, which I appreciate what she has put into, excuse me, my career, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you. But I had an opportunity to take my family to Disney World with some extended family, and we had an amazing time. And yes, I actually was in Disney World.
So he can't go again.
Award, I guess.
So we have one other thing here. Everybody that wins this award gets a really nice jacket, but since Barry's in his suit coat today, we won't make him try it on. But here is your Making It Happen jacket. And we also have your North Carolina Technology and Education Societies Award and the Making It Happen Award.
Wow.
So you have all kinds of good stuff. Thank you, Susan, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Horses get exercise.
To say thank you for being here, Melanie. I know how busy you are, and you helped me get started in this career. So I appreciate that very much. And I absolutely want to share this with my department. I've said it before in here to the board, but I am truly blessed to be a part of the amazing Buncombe County Schools Technology Services Department. Each and every one just are incredible people, and none of this would happen without them. So, thank you.
Mr. Pace, we want to switch gears now from technology to school lunches. The BCS School Nutrition Department was recently awarded the North Carolina Superior Site Award for increased participation in the summer meals program. So we have a couple more community partners who are here, and they're going to talk a little bit more about how the difference that this program is making in the lives of kids in Buncombe County. So if Lisa Payne and Cheryl Harris could come on down.
Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, members of the board. We celebrate community. We certainly congratulate Barry, and we're proud to share our successes with you tonight as well. We have in the audience, we have team members that begin the beginning, Mr. Swanger, Dr. Boone, Jennifer Pickering, Cortina Caldwell, Cheryl Harris, and myself, and Robert Waller is not here tonight, but he was involved in beginning a process and forming a relationship with community partners, LEAF, whom we absolutely have just learned to celebrate the global diversity they bring to our table. And tonight we honor by awarding the NC Superior Site Award that is presented by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction to a summer food service program site that goes above and beyond the call of duty, and they have served last summer 4,768 meals, the average of 101 meals per day, to hungry kids. And LEAF's role in that was that every Tuesday, they would come with their van with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of energy. 1 week, music. The next week, hands-on participatory arts and crafts. What fun, what fun. So as part of the application process for this award, an essay was entered. An excerpt from the essay says, and I quote Dr. Baldwin, okay? Our newest community partnership happened this summer at Beaver View Apartments. Our superintendent, Dr. Tony Baldwin, Buncombe County School Board, and the BCS administrative staff agreed to a partnership with LEAF this summer with both Beaver View and Spruce Hill. Not only is this the community meeting the needs by feeding them nutritionally, they are also feeding them educationally. So LEAF would come with this easel rider, set it up. Cortina staff, Cortina, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about what happened?
Hi, everybody. I'm Cortina Caldwell, and good afternoon or evening, everybody. And so we have a LEAF Easel Rider mobile art lab, and it actually started out as a renovated bread truck. So imagine a food truck, and that actually is not a food truck, but is full of arts and crafts supplies. And now it's gotten to where when people see the Easel Rider pulling up in their communities, it's almost like the ice cream truck. We're working on a song for the van. But we have the pleasure of being able to go into the communities, and it's really an honor to be as mobile and flexible as we have been with that program, and just really bringing art into the community. And that's really what we saw take form at Beaverview. And our Easel Rider mobile art lab did start out as a partnership with the City of Asheville Parks and Recreation. So I have to also acknowledge them. They are a continued partner, although we've upgraded to a Sprinter van. And we served through that program, we served last year a total of over 6,000 youth across Buncombe County. So we're really honored and excited about that.
We are excited, and we always thank our community partners and the excitement that they share with us. So tonight, we are here to present this Superior Site Award actually to someone from Beaver View Housing Apartments, Miss Jamie Long. But unfortunately, Jamie Long could not make it, so I'm going to present this to Cheryl Harris on Jamie Long's behalf. And they did a really, really nice job. Miss Jamie Long was the site supervisor and is a resident of Beaver View, so she was responsible for administering the site every day. And then Buncombe County Schools would like to recognize Miss Cortina Caldwell and LEAF Community Arts for their contribution to our program. And we just want to thank you for your passion. We want to thank you for everything that we do, and we look for future growth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just stay up there.
Welcome Bill Festive, a board member of LEAF, also to join us in this picture, and we recognize his hard work. Thank you.
Cortina, come on right back up here. We had such fun having summer easel rider all over our district, watching the children be so engaged in the arts. So we applied for a grant, and Buncombe County and Leaf were selected one of 7 in the nation.
7.
One of 7 in the nation to attend a very special Partners in Education Arts Symposium in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center. And we were celebrating this announcement with our general staff and our principals meeting right before spring break. And Mr. Bryant happened upon a very special Leaf activity in which there might have been an artist in residence helping us with hip-hop dancing. So if you can imagine superintendent, leadership, staff, principals dancing, it happened. It was real. And Mr. Bright can verify that. Just to show how important the arts is in our whole school community as well as Buncombe County, and it starts with the vision of our superintendent. So Cortina's going to talk a little bit about what that partnership will look like.
Thank you, Ms. Swanger. And once again, my name is Cortina Caldwell. Very honored and excited to be here with y'all this evening sharing. And it's funny because I see the look of panic slightly sometimes when we walk into a room now because people are like, do they have an artist? Are we going to have to dance? What are they going to make us do? So it's always really, it's been really fun to get to know this team, and it's been really an honor to be on this journey and having it start with the summer program, really, and what it's kind of grown into, and it's going to continue to grow. So we're very excited about that. So I'm here to share with you a little bit this evening about Leaf Schools and Streets. And Leaf is a multifaceted nonprofit organization. It was started in 1995. We have 2 core cultural arts programs. I'm going to move it forward. There we go. We have 2 core cultural arts education programs, as well as our Leaf Festival and Leaf Downtown signature events. And specifically for this partnership, because I had to zoom in for a little bit, we're going to be talking specifically about Leaf Schools and Streets, which is our local cultural arts education program. And Dr. Baldwin kind of touched on this a little bit earlier today, but once we sat down at the table and started having these conversations about, what can we do to really be a lot more intentional about the work that we're doing in our community, but specifically around how we're growing our future leaders and recognizing that a part of our mission with Leaf Schools and Streets is to empower youth to become global citizens, leaders, and agents of positive change. And so really once we started talking, it was a no-brainer, and we got excited about designing something together. And a big component of that being global education, and that focus I know is near and dear to Dr. Baldwin's heart, so we're excited about that. So the big news, and when Otto was here, I had some sound effects, and he actually had, I think, a wave going, so you'll have to just pretend like all that's happening in the background. Thank you, Cindy. So just a couple of key highlights that I want to just help kind of educate a little bit and give a little more context on what this award means and exactly how this all kind of came together. And I'm going to just highlight a couple things on the slide here. But like Ms. Swanger said, we were one of only 7 teams selected from across the country. We had the honor of being the only partnership team in North Carolina. And we are only the 3rd partnership site from North Carolina in the history of the program. Over the history of the program with the Kennedy Center, Partners in Education, there are to date about 100 partnership teams across 42 states. And as you can see, there's 2 that specifically happened in North Carolina, 1993 and 2016. And really the way that they're viewing this Partners in Education, which I'll talk a little bit about, and I can actually go ahead and move. Okay, sorry, sound effects. There was some of those. Okay, I'm going to back up one. All right, so really with the Kennedy Center, one of their premises is really increasing the access that people have to the arts so that it's inclusive, really so that it's equitable. And they have over the years become a national champion for arts learning and creativity. And so what they found was if you're doing work around arts education or arts in education, then it's really important to have this partnership and this synergy between a school district and an arts organization. And so they have this cohort of partnership teams that go through this process for 2 years, really intensive training and learning. We do everything from access online resources. We go to site visits in different communities and classrooms. There's teacher and teaching artist trainings. And we're really, using the arts as a positive tool for change as our vessel. And a couple of key points about the center, the Kennedy Center's education focus is that they're really dedicated to service, justice, freedom, courage, gratitude, and cultivating citizen artists and all the people that we serve, which is huge because I think that also speaks to both organizations and the work that we're doing. And so as we were doing this application process, and I have to again thank my partner in crime in this too, Dr. Sherry Boone, who's so humble, and then of course Dr. Baldwin and Ms. Swanger for everything that we really came together and filled out this application, and we're kind of antsy to figure out if we had been selected or not, and just really came to this place, I think, too, in the process of whether we ended up getting honored with this award or not. We felt really strong about what we had submitted and that the partnership was going to happen either way. And so once we got the news, it was just icing on the cake. And so I just kind of share with you there some words from all of us, really, and the Kennedy Center, and specifically their Senior VP of Education says that the arts engage the whole child in creative thinking, collaboration, cross-cultural understanding, and communication. It inspires and transforms students, supporting them in becoming lifelong learners as well as future citizens. So again, just driving home that we're all aligned doing this great work. So what does this all mean? And I want to just show this amazing video that the Kennedy Center put together, and I'll let it play.
Our education system is the most important tool we have for creating caring, imaginative, creative, connected, empathetic, knowledgeable citizens of the world. And the arts are about all of that. If we want to get to the kids, we have to start with the teachers. The kids are going to move on. The kids are going elsewhere. The teachers are there.
The arts are a universal language. They give us lots of ways to be successful. We can read it, we can write it, we can sing it, dance it, act it. All ways to show what we know.
Ever since the doors opened to the public in 1971, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. has been committed to teaching the arts as well as integrating the arts across the curriculum. Fundamental to that commitment is partnering with teachers for their professional learning so that together we can change education through the arts. Teachers who participate in the Kennedy Center's programs learn through a variety of experiences, including workshops and courses, demonstration teaching, arts coaching, and study groups. Teachers' professional learning starts with participation in formal instruction, such as workshops and courses.
I think the 3-hour professional development workshop is where the journey begins. It's a chance to open the door and say, let's take a look at a strategy. It's really an invitation to possibilities for teachers.
We're giving them some information, and then we're asking them to do something between that session and the next session so that they're building their skills incrementally, they're trying out things.
I think that word participation is huge. Even though I have been to many, many workshops for many years, one of the reasons I can retain my information is because it's participatory.
Workshops and courses are only the beginning.
I'm going to give you 1 minute
Follow-up is critical. Teachers go back to the classroom and implement the new teaching strategies supported by demonstration teaching, arts coaching, and study groups.
The value of having a teaching demonstration done in my classroom is that I not only get to see how a lesson that I want to do would be done, which is amazing, but I also get to watch how my students are going to respond to it.
It makes me think. When I see it, makes me feel. Let's do that one more time.
And to watch it demonstrated in front of me gives me confidence that I can do this. I've seen it done, and it gives me ideas.
When I see, it makes me think. When I see, it makes... Arts coaching provides individualized help to teachers right in their classroom. The coaching is designed to influence their practice and ultimately student learning. And that the art is transferring over to their poetry.
And that they remember. It's really the most meaningful experience that I've had in any form of professional development.
When my children see the professional artists come in and coach me,
okay, guys, come on back.
And then they watch other teachers come and watch me, they know I'm learning. It ends up being a model for continuous learning.
Good job. Good job, too.
A lot of workshops you go to, it's like, here's your information, good luck, you're on your way. With the study group, there's an everyday support system for me. I can call Betsy, I can call Heather and say, oh, I just failed really badly when I tried to use this Tableau. What did you do? What can you give me some advice? Can you give me some, an in-house teaching team?
You stay frozen the whole time.
From large group workshops to individualized arts coaching, the Kennedy Center supports a variety of professional learning opportunities for teachers and furthers its vision for changing education through the arts.
If we want to get to the kids, we have to start with the teachers. The kids are going to move on. The kids are going elsewhere. The teachers are there.
What's on the horizon for us in 2018 as we go on this journey with the Kennedy Center and start to make some plans for our partnership? So I've shared with you here just kind of an overview of a timeline of what we're working on and where we are. And as you noticed, we formed a steering committee last month, which Bill Feste is part of, as well as Carrie Hampton-Pyle, both LEAF board members and teachers in the Buncombe County school system, as well as some of LEAF staff, and we also have some Buncombe County staff and teachers as well. So we'll be kind of guiding and moving forward this partnership so that we can be successful. We're also going to be going to the Kennedy Center, as Ms. Swanger mentioned, and at the end of this month to get trained and be at the Institute for 4 days and bring that knowledge back into our community. And then as we move forward on through the year, we're going to be focusing on some community events, continuing to host residencies in schools, and a more updated note, we do have a few other schools that will be also doing residencies. As you can see, Oakley Elementary, T.C. Robeson, Owen High, and we also recently had... I want to make sure I mention them as well. We also have Kuntz Intermediate that just booked Superman, who is a First Nation Crow hip-hop artist. So we're really excited about that as well. And then, of course, moving into August, we'll start, or we already have started, but we'll continue to plan Worldview. We'll have the Easel Rider Mobile Art Lab, as we talked about earlier, as well as our mobile stage and some other programs. And then moving into the fall, we are making plans for for the first time that we're doing it specifically, but a music, art, and college tour. So again, that we can start creating this vision and a container for growth and for what's next beyond graduation for Buncombe County students. And they can really see that, you can take the arts and music and creativity and innovation seriously, and it can be a career and a pathway. And we really believe in that, and so we're excited to see that continue to grow. So that's what we're doing for 2018, and we'll continue to plan for 2019 as we're in DC and beyond. And so I just want to open it up. I don't know if I have any time left, but if there are any immediate questions, I will definitely make sure to continue to share my contact information. I have cards, but if there are any questions, if I have time now on the floor, I'm happy to answer.
Board? I don't have a question, but I have a comment. As you know, I'm a big fan of the arts, as the mom of 2 musicians, one of whom is about to graduate from college with a music major and then go on to graduate school. And having seen just how music, in their case, has really transformed their lives and set them on a path of happiness and learning. And I'm really struck by what we've heard today, just in terms of the way that the arts is infusing learning in all areas. So, I mean, we've talked about kids showing up for meals in the summer because the arts are there. We've talked about leadership development. We've talked about global learning. We've talked about citizenship. All of these aspects of learning, arts, it's not separate from that. It's a part of that. And so I'm so excited that we've gotten this grant and we're doing this partnership. And we as a board, I believe, need to continue to recognize the importance of the arts in terms of our funding decisions, in terms of how time is designated in the schools and making sure our kids have time for the arts, because it's not separate from their learning. It enhances their learning, it enriches their learning, it's really foundational for their learning. So really appreciate you, Cortina, and Leaf, and all you're doing to help us do what we do even better. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Well said.
Others? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Public comment?
Madam Chair, we have no sign-ups for public comment this evening.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the action agenda. The first item on the agenda is the budget amendment number 6. Are there questions from board members? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve amendment number 6.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Second item on the agenda is the award of the contract for cellular phone service. And are there questions for Mr. Pace? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The Reynolds High School Roof Area 1 Replacement Project. Authorization to award the contract. Are there questions for Mr. Fearley? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Haw Creek, next item, Haw Creek Elementary School Roof Replacement Project. Authorization to award contract. Are there questions for Mr. Fearley?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have questions.
Mr. Fearley, we certainly don't want anybody out in the weather, including Mr. Fearley.
So we've talked a lot about the current situation with bidding and how competitive it is and how difficult it is, and having to bid things multiple times in order to get enough bidders, and then finding creative ways to make it work within budget, such as with the Reynolds High School roof, you had to do some value engineering, I think. This is the first one that I've seen us have to approve where we're ending up having to, as I understand it, do a partial project. We're having to actually cut back on the project. It's not value engineering, but it's, let me just see, reduce the scope of work to meet the budget. And so when I look down, the way in which we're apparently reducing the scope of work is to remove the temporary roof membrane and allowance 1, which is lightweight concrete replacement, in order to bring it into budget. So feels like a sort of a new level of cutting to me, and I'm just wondering, can you talk a little bit about the temporary roof membrane and the concrete replacement, and what's the impact of that on this work?
Temporary roof membrane allows a roofer to tear off the entire roof, which is really messy, and put a temporary roof on it. And then he can come back as weather allows, and, you know, he chooses his time and re-roof, as opposed to tear off this little bit, make sure that joint is sealed at night, and put a new roof over here, then tear off this little bit and dirty up this roof. So it causes, the roofers like it because the project ultimately is cleaner and easier. It usually gets done quicker. And from our perspective, it minimizes the possibilities of leaks during construction.
During but not after? So it's not a concern after?
No, it's a temporary membrane. It will hold up for 60 days or so, but it's not designed to be permanent. And so this roofer, with the only option we had is to abandon the project, and he had done all this work bidding it, and we had gotten close. He said, well, I'll do it. I can give you money back, because there is a cost for that. Work with me on this. I'll do my best to not have leaks during construction. I'll do my best, but I want the job, and I'll give you a substantial amount of money back to make this happen. The deck replacement is an allowance in the project. Because you can't really see the deck that's below the roof, you don't know how much of it needs to be replaced. If there's been leaks in the past, especially on a gypsum deck, which is a poured deck, relatively soft, it has insulating value, it can be damaged significantly when you have leaks. So we made a judgment on this as to how much allowance we needed when we were initially designing it, and hopefully conservative, because if that deck replacement isn't used, we get that money back. In order to salvage the project, we took that allowance out. There is another smaller allowance in there to get us within the budget, and we just have to hope we don't run into terrible conditions. But it's an educated guess, really. If we did have more roof deck replacement than what we now would have in the contract, and we couldn't find other ways to save it, I would have to go to Dr. Baldwin and ask if we could use capital outlay contingency to do to do what needs to be done. It's a chance. I don't like doing it, but it's either throw away the project or not. So.
Right. And it's a roofing project. We can't throw it away. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item's Lester Elementary School Roof Replacement Project, authorization to award the contract. Are there questions from the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second?
A second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, Clyde A. Irwin High School, approval of design contract for the school nutrition kitchen renovations. Questions for Mr. Fearley? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, authorization of lottery application and for a Discovery Academy and district-wide freezer cooler replacement. Are there questions from the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, Community High School Additions and Renovations Project, Power Service Easement. Are there questions from the board for Mr. Fearley? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Board, you have received a petition to transfer 320 and 322 Windswept Drive to the City School Administration Unit and Taxing District. Are there questions from the board? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote to approve.
Unless there's no discussion.
No discussion.
I actually have, I feel kind of bad asking it this late a notice, but is there any way to find out, I know we have to, they're currently Buncombe County zoned. Where is the next closest pickup for the bus?
I would have to research that. I do know that particular street, that particular lane, that particular neighborhood, that we do not currently have a bus route there.
Yeah, that's what it looked to me like from looking at the map.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions or discussion? Again, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Actually, you would vote on the petition. You would
Okay.
simply say all in favor of approving the petition, and a vote to approve the petition would be to transfer the property to the Asheville City Schools.
Okay. I would entertain a vote to approve the petition. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
All against?
Aye.
The petition's denied.
Correct.
The consent agenda, the minutes for March 1st, 2018, open session, the personnel report, the policies for second reading is 3101, dual enrollment. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The information agenda is listed, which includes the financial reports, policies for first reading, 3460, graduation requirements, 4125, homeless students, 6420, contracts with the board, 7130, licensure, 7130R, licensure, 7241, drug and alcohol testing and commercial motor vehicle operators, policy 7280 and 1760, prohibition against retaliation, 7430, substitute teachers, 7720, employee political activities, 7811, plans for growth and improvement of licensed employees, 7820, personnel file, 8510, school finance officer, 9110, selection and use of architects, engineers, surveyors, and construction manager at risk, and 9120, bidding for construction work. That is your information agenda. Our next meetings are, our next event is the Top Scholars Banquet, which is April 25th at 6 o'clock at Renaissance Hotel. The Board of Education's regular meeting is May the 3rd in the Minitorium here. And the Board of Education will have a special called meeting on May the 3rd at 1:15 in the Board Auditorium. And I believe that's capital outlay information. That's capital out. Yeah, the facility needs. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And I would entertain a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go home. Thank you very much.